Oh boy.
Yep, I
What's
see
going
the live
wrong?
stream.
You do?
I see the live stream on the channel. Well, it's got a a spinny. I'm not actually showing video, but
Weird, because that's well, it's saying that I
oh,
am.
and now it's ended.
Yeah, oh, it shouldn't have ended. I didn't click stop. Um, I don't really understand what's going on, why this isn't working all of a sudden.
Okay, there it is.
And
Now I've got live video.
why do I not? Um, I'm gonna refresh again, and I want to see if it dies. Can you hear everything and everything? I mean, can you hear it and everything?
Let's see. I've got it muted. Let me see. Yeah, I can hear it and everything.
That's weird. I can't see anything. Um,
Now it's labeled Path of Destruction, chapter 7 through 12.
okay, I wonder if that's the problem. Uh, okay. Let me go back to the studio dashboard and click go live again. Because ordinarily I need to have that pulled up before I start streaming, but for some reason... What do you mean? It says live now. Now it says, okay. Do I see it now? Can I hear it? Now it says, okay. Do I see it now? I can. Okay. I'll go ahead and change the name, I guess. I already did that once. I have no idea what's going on. I haven't changed anything. It just worked last week. And then this doesn't have a title yet, so save. Am I still hearing everything okay? I haven't changed anything. It just, all right, whatever. We're good, I guess.
What can you do?
Do you need the link or do you got the link?
I've got it. I've got
Okay.
it.
I'll go to Discord if you haven't already and do it.
Yep, I'll just get the Twitters.
Okay. Woof.
Got it. Got it.
There we go. Boom. There she is. Now, get back over here. Okay. There's too much going on. 1 second. I've just been having the worst time with stuff. I don't know. I think I need to upgrade my computer. It just really recently has been feeling like my computer has been chugging. Like right now, Discord, it's probably showing on the stream. I am just really, really lagging pretty bad. Close Steam. Oh my god, I clicked Steam VR. Don't do it. Okay. Whew. That was close. Oh my god. Not at all what I'm here for. Wallpaper engine? Should I quit wallpaper engine too? I don't know. Discord, it'll probably be fine. There you go. Finally, cat. Let's close that too. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it's acting like this, but hopefully Discord continues to be fine. Okay. I'm just gonna say that it's fine. Are you ready to start recording?
I am.
As am I. All right, I'm recording, and I have waveforms.
Likewise.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Nailed it. Never heard a better clap in my life. I do have some bad news, Cole. I haven't watched any more Star Trek.
Shame.
I know.
For shame.
I know. One day soon. We're going to the gym tomorrow.
It's funny. I actually watched 2 TNG episodes yesterday, just on the whim.
Did you just pick random ones, or did you have like?
Well, I picked one that I hadn't seen in a long time. That a lot of theories are going around that it might be relevant to the new show.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
Another one I picked was just a good episode
from
season 3, I think. Yeah.
well, I'll jump in. Like I said, I just haven't been. I should play video games. All my time, all my free time is spent playing video games. Cole.
Hey, nothing wrong with that either.
Well, today they announced a new Pokemon DLC.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I saw that.
yeah, I don't know if you saw any of that. Not coming out till fall, which I'm like, ugh, but also that's fine. I've got plenty of other stuff to do in the interim. Not to mention the fact that I haven't even in the last like month and a half, I've gotten 3, 4, maybe 5. Actually 5. 5 different JRPGs, which are all at least 30 hours. At least. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I gotta stop. I need to stop. The problem is, like, Best Buy had like a sale for President's Day or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I talked about that a little. Couldn't control myself.
It happens.
Okay. Sorry. Hi, Mogo. The egg is gone. Or will be shortly. Alright. We ready to do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's rock it.
The sooner I get this one recorded and talked about, the sooner I can finish this dang book.
Finish the book. Endure the pain.
What I hate the... Okay. Oh, wait. Here we go. Here we go. Listen up, library patrons, and welcome back to Obroa-Skai Walkers. I'm one of your librarians, Ben, and I am joined by my fellow librarian, Colt.
Kandosi, everyone.
Oh, there's not a lot to Kandosi about this week, Cole. No.
We are in the thick of it now.
Mogo, I was eating a Reese's egg. This is not Rogue Podron. The only egg is the Reese's egg as it stands. But Cole, I'm gonna finish my thought from 15 seconds ago before we started recording. We have very clearly reached a turning point in this book. I'm going to go ahead and just assume everyone has read what we read for this week and not spoil anything. I'm not going to jump that far ahead, but I'm going to say we have reached a turning point. Things are about to get bad. For sure, 100%. Things have been going so well. Things are going to get bad, right? What concerns me is that there's just not that much book left. And again, it kind of goes on with what I was saying last week and have been saying throughout this entire series is just like, it's hard to know that this series is not finished and was not actually finished. So knowing that, well, okay, most of the fallout probably from all of this, everything bad that happens is going to come in the next book because there's just not that much of this book left. I don't know how many chapters it is, but things are bad and I don't want them to be bad, but if they're going to be bad, it's complicated.
It's 6 chapters left.
Okay. That's not nothing, but I think it was 20. 20 was really short. And yes. I was like, I started chapter 20 and I'm like, okay, got a good amount of reading left, and I sat down and I literally my reading
one of the chapters, like 18 or 19, was like literally like 3 pages or something.
Yeah, I think it might have been 19. I don't remember. But one way or the other, 20 wasn't very long either, and I wasn't very happy because I had settled down. It was a nice day. I'd settled down outside. I'm like, all right, start my reading timer, and then 7 minutes later, I'd finished the chapter, and I'm like, oh, really? Guess I'll play Pokemon, which is exactly what happened. Which is exactly what happened. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is not time to talk about that yet.
Mogo, we can't talk about that.
Yeah,
we can't talk about whether or not they executed Order 66. That's spoilers for the book called Order 66.
We are joined by Mogo in our chat. Hi, Mogo. This is obviously another kind of not spur of the moment recording. We're trying to get back on the normal recording schedule. But we're recording an episode less than a week after we recorded our last one. So, I mean, I don't want to speak for you. I will say that not much new has happened in the world of Star Wars for me in the last 3 or 4 days, or however long it's been since we recorded last.
No, not really. Not really.
Um,
We are now T minus like 30 hours to Mandalorian or something.
I know, we're getting very close, and I am still kind of... I'm just not... It just doesn't seem real. We've gone so long without it. It just doesn't seem real that it's back. I did see a headline earlier today, though. Pedro Pascal teasing big cameo. I didn't read it because I'm like, I'm not interested in this. But apparently he teased big cameos in season 3. And one half of me is like, of course, it's the Mandalorian. It's what it does. And the other part of me is just like, can it not be Super Friends for like 5 freaking minutes? You know? I just...
Yeah, there was a bit of interview actually I wanted to talk about.
Okay, by all means. I didn't read it. So if there's something that was important...
I don't know that specific one, but there was just talk from, I think it was from Jon Favreau, just asking, like, someone asked him about, like, where are we in the story right now? Like, is this the beginning, the middle, the end? Like, how are things shaping out? I was like, oh, this is, the middle at the earliest, or the latest or something. And it's like, they don't have any kind of end in sight or plan. And, that's not inherently a bad thing. But
no.
It does rankle me a little bit more on the bringing Grogu back so quick. I'm like, so there's no specific plan, and you couldn't let it sit for even a few episodes.
I am right there with you. I had the exact same thought process where I was just like, well, okay, you've just pissed off everyone who's like, oh, the sequel trilogy, Kathleen Kennedy, she sucks. There was no plan. George Lucas had a plan, which of course isn't true. And then it's like, well, John and Dave, they've got a plan. And they don't. He straight up said they don't have a plan. And that, as you said, not in and of itself a bad thing. That's okay. No. But yeah, I felt the same thing. Mogo says that worries me. Me a little bit too. I'm a little apprehensive, but I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad thing. It is just it is what it is. The thing that really does kind of get me is what you said, Cole, where it's just like, well, okay, Grogu wasn't planned to come back, and we didn't even make it through a season of Mando.
It's not like, oh, season 5 the last season, so we have to bring him back to get, the story done. It's like, no, that's not the case. So you couldn't even, let us hang with it for a little while.
And let Din kind of... Now, in the headline I read, now, of course, I really shouldn't be quoting headlines. I didn't read the freaking article. But, like...
Me neither.
Pedro mentioned that, like, the dynamic between Din and Grogu might be changing a little bit. Or evolving. And that's interesting. Like, seeing those two characters interact, like, there is something interesting there. But yeah, just leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. Where it's just like, give us a season of Din on his own without Grogu. Like, that could be an interesting dynamic in and of itself. Din having to manage all this stuff on his own.
Because we've had, like, literally, like, one episode of that.
Yeah. Literally one in a different, TV show. And I honestly...
No, I mean, I'm talking about even before when the show started.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Like, he finds Grogu at the end of the first episode, and then we have one episode of Boba Fett where he doesn't have him. And that's basically it.
Yeah. And so, if I'm being honest, I didn't think that hard about it. Because The Mandalorian is... we get a show like Andor, right? Andor is, I'm not going to pretend it's the most, like, mature thing to ever exist, but, like, as far as Star Wars goes, yeah, it probably is.
It's up there.
It's up there, for sure. So, Mando, to me, has kind of, it's kind of settled into, like, it's like popcorn Star Wars, like, It's fun. It's a good time. It's got the heart. It's got the good characters. Like, it has all the things you want, but it doesn't have to be the only thing, which of course has always been true. But Tom's in our chat. Tom and Nathan, hello, have joined us. And Tom says, comparing anything to Andor is a mistake. And honestly, I'm kind of inclined to agree. Andor is just, it's on a different level of any Star Wars TV that we've seen and probably will see for the foreseeable future. And I'm kind of making my peace with the fact that we've talked about this before too. Ahsoka is rumored to be sometime this year, maybe. And if Ahsoka has the same kind of crossover with The Mandalorian that Book of Boba Fett did, or, crosses over with Book of Boba Fett even somehow, like, I'm going to feel better about the whole thing. It's just been an adjustment period for me, trying to realize, like, I just feel like I wasn't, my expectations were a little out of whack. See, Mogo's talking about fan service from season 2 of Mando, and that's something that I hear a lot, and obviously there is a lot of it. And that's kind of what I'm afraid of with the whole cameos thing. I mean, do you think we're going to see Luke in season 3 again?
I don't know. It's part of me says no, just because I feel like they rounded out that part of the story already.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Difficult to see the future is, huh?
Yeah. I don't see why he would show up again unless Din has to like take Grogu to him again for some reason.
That'd be very weird.
Yeah, I don't see why their paths would overlap again.
Well,
but,
that kind of
who knows?
Then that makes me wonder. Oh. Sorry, I'm looking at random articles, and oh, I understand why this one's here. This is not the random article, but I am going to leave it up because I want to talk about it, but I do remember why it's here now. Anyway, that does make me wonder, like, well, okay, what are these cameos going to be then? Is it going to be, will they be people that kind of make sense? Like Luke Skywalker did make sense with the direction that story was going, or is it going to feel superfluous? Also, does Ahsoka count as a cameo anymore? I would almost argue she doesn't. You know what I mean?
Depends on her purpose in the story.
Sure. But in terms of just, it wouldn't be a shock or a surprise anymore.
No.
I don't think. See, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I'm still incredibly excited about season 3. And I think there's a lot to be excited for in knowing that the show is probably not going to end anytime soon. Because it remains the most, the most popular Star Wars TV
John,
show.
In that same interview, he also said season 4 is written. It's done.
It's done.
So it's like, that's already done. So season 4 is in the bag as far as like writing goes. And then he's got to be working on season 5, presumably. Yeah. So,
Makes me wonder if we'll have another long delay. Because I would imagine part of that was maybe because of The Last of Us. Like,
quite possibly.
Could that have had something to do with the delay of season 3? I don't know what else Pedro Pascal is doing. What else any of these other, like, kind of important characters are doing. Is there anyone else in the show that works as much as Pedro Pascal is right now?
Probably not. And even him is like, his character is designed so that he doesn't have to be there most of the time.
I know, which makes me a little sad for him and just kind of in general. And also for the performers who play the Mandalorian that are not Pedro Pascal, that do not get the same kind of recognition. That he is the face of the Mandalorian, even though we literally never see him. So I don't know. But yeah, anyway, just don't get it twisted. I'm still very much excited for for season 3 and to see where the show goes. Especially just again, just having I think more appropriate expectations for what to look for from this show. I think I'm going to be much more able to just kind of roll with the punches when something is a little off or something feels a little superfluous or egregious even.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the show hasn't done anything egregious yet, but you know.
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
not naming characters is sometimes egregious, but you know.
Well, okay. I mean in a broader sense, but
Yeah,
you're right.
I know,
You're right.
I know.
Nathan, sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat. Nathan asked, "How do you bring Luke back without telling a story involving Ezra?" I get the more time goes on, the more time passes. I don't know what Ezra's purpose is going to be when he inevitably comes back. Because obviously by the time we get to the sequel trilogy, the Jedi are still no more. Ezra, for one reason or another, has either A, never come back, and we all just assumed wrong that, he doesn't ever, he's gone. Or B, abandons, the notion of being a Jedi and kind of relinquishes that. So I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily think that Luke and Ezra's fates are tied. But also, I could see Ezra. I mean, is there anything that says that Ezra couldn't come back to Luke's academy or whatever? And serve some purpose there? And then where does that happen? In some show that hasn't been announced? Like, I don't know. Sorry, I'm kind of just like following this train of thought here.
So many questions.
There are so many questions, so few answers.
Threads we don't know.
Right, and they keep talking about how they're trying to move away. They want to move away from legacy characters. But we also haven't established much of anything about Luke Skywalker in the time between the sequel trilogy, how he gets from Return of the Jedi to The Force Awakens. We know that in extraneous or, various external media, but or they could just content to say, this comic happened, Shadows of the Sith happened. Like, are they content to just say that? I feel like they wouldn't have gone through all the work of making this deepfake technology if they were just gonna, I don't know. I'm kind of just trying to make my peace with the fact that we'll probably see deepfake Luke again. Especially because it was such I think at the end of the day, a hit. I think in various online circles, it was more contentious, but I think for the average person, it was great. And it was great. It just was great with a little side helping of what, but I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. Last thing I'm going to say, because we're just super speculating at this point. I wouldn't be shocked if Ahsoka and Ezra's destiny have become kind of intertwined. Because, I mean, has anybody else that we know of, I'm just asking for confirmation, because I'm pretty sure I know the answer. No one else has done anything with the World Between Worlds, right? No one else has been involved in any way outside of being influenced by these two.
As far as I know, no, but if it was, it would be like in comics, I would think, just because that's the area I'm not
like I said, I'm 99% sure that's not happened. So that makes me wonder, are these two now somehow intertwined? Because obviously Ahsoka, you could tie it all the way back to Mortis. She died and was brought back to life. Like, that's, yeah, right. That's going to be important, I think, is probably already important. But now Ezra's been wrapped up in this thing, and I just don't know. We just don't know enough about what Ezra's doing, what he's thinking, what Thrawn is doing. There's just too much happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry. I talked a lot there. I just was following that train of thought. And
yeah.
once it got rolling.
There was one There was one like Mandalorian, I don't know, TV spot trailer thing that came out yesterday or early today that had one interesting like new shot in it that was Mandalore, like the dome cities, but surrounded by verdant green fields.
I saw that in a screen. I saw a screen cap of that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, is this a flashback or is this what it looks like now? Because, after being torched, everything's regrowing. I mean, it could be.
Well, I don't know, because why? Because it looked bad before the Empire ever got there.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Is it just because the
And the domes are
Mandalorians?
also intact, which the Empire didn't leave them as such. So
You're right, and so that would kind of imply maybe we're going back in time. It just like we just don't know enough. We don't know enough about it. We don't know enough about how how Mandalore was leading up to the Clone Wars. I think we could probably piece together, but I guess it wasn't. At least the entire planet wasn't ruined during the time of Rebels, correct?
no,
Because like Clan Ren,
but the Night of a Thousand Tears was after Rebels.
yeah. I'm very curious then, because that's I don't want to say it's an inconsistency because I don't think it is, but it's like, okay, we see the area around not Keldabe, Sundari. Sundari. We see the area around Sundari, and it's like it's barren desert
Mm-hmm.
in Clone Wars, and then we go to Rebels, and it's like, well, there are like trees and snow and stuff. Like, okay, but then, I mean, I don't know. You know how Star Wars is. Each planet has one biome, and that's it. So it's a little hard to grapple with. Ugh. Okay, Mogo says that based on the trailer, he thinks we're probably getting a Grogu solo episode.
Be interesting. Dialogue-free episode, basically.
Yeah, like I wouldn't hate it. Just like I don't hate Grogu. I wouldn't hate it. I just think that it'd have to be pretty solid for it to be one of my like favorite episodes of the season, I think, because at the end of the day, he's not what I'm here for. Maybe I'm in the minority. But I mean, I think it could be good.
Program, Ben.
I think it could be
Grogu
good.
supremacy.
I think it could be good. I'm not trying to I don't know. I'm gonna put a hard stop on my own rampant speculation. You can continue if you want, if you have thoughts.
No.
But
I'm good.
I gotta
good.
stop
Like
because
there's only
otherwise
like
I'm gonna keep
less
going.
than 2 days to find out.
Something.
Find out something. Yes.
The good thing is, I'm not concerned that Mandalorian season 3 is going to start without a hook like Bad Batch season 2 did. I don't feel like I'm gonna leave Mando season 3, the premiere, being like, well, okay, what's like, why do I want to keep watching? But again, that's more speculation. Maybe it's.
Well, I mean, both season 1 and 2 episodes end on like a big, like, first one was Grogu. It was like, oh, what the heck, and then the second season's opener ended on Fett.
Right. Okay, I'm sorry. More speculation. Who can? I mean, let's just say it's a cameo. Let's say it's a cameo. Who do you think it's most likely to be? Who would you, if you had to just take a guess?
Oh man, I've had to take a guess. Man, I don't even know.
No, because it could. I mean, it could be anybody.
I feel like the big, Thrawn. That's
Thrawn.
Mogo's in the chat there. Thrawn, like that's the one. It feels like it could be just because they've already teased it, but I don't know how that would, like, how that plays out in an episode. I don't know how that works.
So, I don't either. Oh, I don't know. Because that feels like... Because what? We saw Boba at the end of episode 9. And then... wasn't until like episode 14, I think, that we saw him again. So they're not afraid to kind of...
Like,
plant the
a
seed and then wait.
long form
Yeah.
tease. It's like, oh, okay. And I wonder if we'll end up this season, because they've been pretty reticent about like cutting away from Mando stuff. Like there's very few times where we've like left him narrative wise. And I wonder if they're gonna do that more to like show what the Imperial stuff is going on. Because I think there was like 3 or 4. I think it was like 4 episodes before he even had a scene that didn't feature him.
So that's interesting. That is interesting. What does Mandalorian look like? And I'm kind of extrapolating from that. What does Mandalorian look like in a post Book of Boba Fett world? Where obviously they were less concerned about staying on Boba Fett the whole time. So
that's a good guess too, Mogo. Sabine.
Rex, listen. I'm down with all of these. I'm down with all of these other guesses. I think all of these would be good. Sabine with Bo-Katan, Bo-Katan in the throne room. I think all these things would be great. Thrawn would be cool. I really don't want to see Rex. I don't want to see Rex that bad. Rex is... That's a minority opinion, I'm sure. I like Rex. Dude is getting up there. You know what I mean? Like, what is the timeline for this? We're like... Was it like 7 ABY? And then some time has passed.
Like
some time has passed. Or was it 7 after the Battle of Endor? I can't remember. I remember it was some weird...
I don't remember the specifics. I know we're getting really close to being like exactly when the Thrawn trilogy took place, which is 9 ABY.
Okay. Now, and I do know that some time has passed between... They mentioned that time has passed between season 2 and 3. Obviously, because Book of Boba Fett has to happen. 5 after Endor. That's what Tom says. Yeah, I'm like, I knew it was some weird... I remember when they like announced the show or gave us that little bit more of information, they gave us that really weird, that really weird time frame. Rex and Boba in the same series does feel a little bit goofy. But, at the end of the day, it is what it is. They are both clones. So... It feels a little goofy if you look at it from a real world perspective, but from a universe, it makes sense. So I'm just kind of, I don't know what to make of that. I wouldn't like be up in arms if Rex was there. I just kind of feel like Rex is the one who's, it's like, let the man rest. He's been through so much. Just let him rest. Jesus. That's kind of where I'm at with Rex.
Yeah. I get that, but also, especially since Temuera Morrison is already there, I'm really going to be surprised if Filoni doesn't bring Rex in there.
Yeah, I forgot Dave was on this project for a minute there. So I think you're right. I think Rex is probably going to be here.
Even if he's not in Mando, he'll almost certainly be in Ahsoka.
In some capacity, he's in it. Don't get me wrong. Or don't... I definitely knew he was going to be in Ahsoka at some point. Like that was, I was feeling the same way. But yeah, I don't know what to think. My head is spinning right now with all the possibilities for what this could possibly be. I think too that I don't know. We don't have an Imperial big bad anymore, do we? Because Gideon's in theory locked up or has been locked up, so it would make sense to bring in somebody else. It could be
just the Thrawn name drop is all we really got as far as like a larger threat.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't. I think it makes perfect sense that that's where they'd go, especially since they've been teasing this whole bigger, larger story, and all these shows are part of the same thing. So yeah, that could be cool. Thrawn in live action, I know, on this podcast will be a little contentious. Just because we are Cole.
Hey, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be super excited to see it no matter what.
Sure, of course.
But there's always gonna be this, trepidation about it.
Well,
but it will be our first live action Chiss ever, which
that in and of
pretty
itself
exciting.
Is historic. It is historic. You're right.
I'm shocked we haven't had it yet. Just even just like as a background thing.
Well, there are, I mean, if you look at like the canon Thrawn trilogy and then the Ascendancy trilogy, like they're out there, Cole. They are
Hmm.
not, they're not in the galaxy at large.
Oh,
So
I know that, but you'd think J.J. Abrams, being the fanboy that he is, would have thrown one in there or something, even if it doesn't make sense.
see, it's hard too because like you never know with some of these creators, where it's like how here I go gatekeeping again. How much of a fan? How much of a fan are they? So
Exactly.
it's like Jon Favreau loves Star Wars, right? He loves Star Wars. No one is questioning that. Was Jon Favreau reading the EU? Like I
No
have
idea.
no way of knowing, and I just feel
Mhm.
like uh Tom's saying maybe live action could give us glowing eyes without pupils.
One
I
can
don't
dream.
I don't think
One can
well,
dream.
okay, because obviously, they mentioned they gave him pupils because it's hard to animate or act as a character without pupils, right? Like, I get
That's
that.
what they said. To me, it's lame.
Why is that? I think that makes sense to me. Like, to
I
me,
don't know why it matters.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I
Because
just
the pupil isn't doing anything. It's the eyelids, and
yeah. I mean,
you know,
I see your point. I do feel like the face would be a little bit less expressive. However,
that's kind of part of it. It's
I
kind of
guess
what
it is.
makes it unsettling.
I guess it is. I do feel like Jon Favreau reading feels unlikely. I'm not gonna sully the man's name like that. I I do think though we are more likely to get a pupilless Thrawn in live action than we are in animation, just because an actor is able to express and emote more with their face more than the average animated character can. So if that's something they're concerned about, we'll see though. I don't
Hmm.
know. Dave, it could have also been Dave Filoni just been like, no, I think he should have pupils, and gave him pupils, and
Dave.
Dave's gonna Dave. I don't know. Like, and can it do his eyes even glow? I don't think his eyes glow. Do they?
I don't think they've ever specified. Maybe.
Hmm. Well, I won't lie and say that glowing eyes is like the most believable physical trait, but it would be cool. I don't know. Gendy Tartakovsky's
Another.
Thrawn would definitely not have pupils for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We've done a lot of speculating there.
Hmm.
So, well, I guess if all goes according to plan, which I believe it will, Mandalorian will be out by the time you're hearing this, and we're just gonna look like giant idiots. Because you will have likely already watched it
That's okay.
if you've had the time. Oh. So
Unless you're here live with us.
I am just I don't know. Plus, it's gonna be like, how are we gonna do Skyhoppers? We'll have Mandalorian and Bad Batch on the same day. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Bad Batch, I hadn't watched it when we last
Oh yeah,
recorded, and I have since, and it was good.
it was good. Yeah,
It wasn't
like
like top tier or anything, but it was good.
it was good. It was as far as like Monster of the Week episodes go. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Hmm.
I think the show is season 2. I think is starting to find its stride. I'm hoping that next week or this week, things pick up stakes a little bit more now that they've got their shit back, and because 12 episodes, 16, 12.
16.
God, I don't know why I can't remember that. So this will be episode 10.
This is episode 11.
Oh right. Wait. Is it?
I'm looking at the Bad Batch
Yeah,
page on Wikipedia right now.
makes sense. Like I don't know why
And
you'd lie.
the episode title is Metamorphosis. And I believe this is the next Crosshair episode. I think.
God. Oh
So
no. Is this the Dark Trooper
that could
episode?
mean
Is
that
this
could
the
mean
Dark Trooper
so many
episode?
things.
Oh my god. Well, that's unfair. You can't give us a good Bad Batch episode on the week that
On
Mando
the
season
same
3
episode,
drops.
the Mando comes out.
Come on.
Evil. Just evil.
It's not right. But, obviously I think Mando is going to take a precedence just because it's the phenomenon of the time, right? Plus, it's good. I mean, I'm not going to deny that it's good, and I'm excited to see more. But anything else going on? I told you already, I haven't watched any more Star Trek, so we can't get lost too far down that rabbit hole this week.
Yeah, the second episode of Picard was very good. Not too much to say there without going deep there. So I won't. I'll refrain since we're already 35 minutes in.
Okay then. Well, I have 2 articles this week.
Ooh,
one of them is
double feature.
One of them is your standard article from the archives, and that is that article for this week is unidentified clone trooper (Ventress victim) close parentheses. The title of this article is conjectural. Although this article is based on official information from the Star Wars Legends continuity, the actual name of the subject is pure conjecture. This unidentified clone trooper served during the Clone Wars on Korm. He was beheaded by Asajj Ventress. This article is a stub about a character. You can help Wikipedia by expanding it. This clone trooper appears once in Clone Wars number 7, which is a comic.
Is this another one of those magazine comics or no?
No, this is actually a full-on Dark Horse comic. And I always forget that this one even exists. Because I would think I don't hear much about it. I think most people would probably assert that the old series of Clone Wars comics are the ones that are really worth reading. And I'm not saying these aren't worth reading. I am saying that the Clone Wars comics, speaking as someone who generally prefers like OT, New Republic era stuff, Clone Wars comics are really good. I do highly recommend the Clone Wars comics. Star Wars comics in general, I think from that period are by and large pretty good, but I'm not as well versed as some people are. God, very tired though. Not a lot to say on this article. Because if I'm being honest, I just found a short one because this other one is the one that I'm really more interested in talking about because it's very weird for a number of different reasons.
Okay.
Oh, it got weirder. What?
Oh, interesting.
All right, Cole.
We're going down the rabbit hole.
I'm gonna send you this link, actually.
Oh, okay.
Quick. I'm gonna send you this link just so you have it, and I want you to have a second to look at this before. Oh my God, where's the chat? Sorry, I've got Discord popped out. Spaghetti is tumbling out of my pants right now. There we go. That I realize probably sounded very weird to anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. That's an old green text from 4chan. Do you see why this is so wild? And I thought I knew why it was here, and then you read the very top thing under the title, and suddenly everything is thrown out the door. Here, I'll go ahead and drop it in YouTube chat too, so that you're all on the same page. This article is entitled Taki (Soul Calibur), which I think should be 2 words. Maybe there's something in this comic Soul Calibur series. I don't know. Soul Calibur, many people will know. It's a fighting game series. So I assumed, all right, Taki is here. Taki is a character from Soul Calibur. And I'm like, there's probably some piece of tie-in media to Soul Calibur 4, which included Yoda and Darth Vader as guest characters. Because that's kind of their thing. Or, I don't know if it always is. I think it usually is. Because I know, Soul Calibur 6 has 2B from Nier Automata. 2 had Link. 2 on the GameCube had Link. And that's why I wanted to play that game so bad. I don't remember.
PlayStation had Darth Vader and Xbox had Yoda, I think. 'Cause they were like kind of like theming the characters based on like the colors and stuff, I
No,
think.
because I think Soul Calibur 2 had that might have been true later. Soul Calibur 2 had different characters. Spawn was in Soul Calibur 2, maybe for the Xbox, and I think it was Heihachi from Tekken that was in the PlayStation 2 one. But this is kind of beside the point. I assumed there was some tie-in media for Soul Calibur 4, and that's how Taki ended up here. Imagine my confusion when I see at the top of the article, there's a notice that says, this article is about a skilled fighter who battled Galen Merrick. Galen Merrick is Starkiller from The Force Unleashed. What? Very excited to go on this journey and read this. This is not an article I ever thought I would run into here.
And this article is non-canon within the Star Wars Legends continuity.
Oh, well, wait. Mogo is saying, wasn't Starkiller also in the game? Was Starkiller
I think
in Soul
maybe
Calibur?
he was. I think maybe he was.
Okay. Taki was pitted against Starkiller as an introduction for Starkiller's appearance in Soul Calibur 4, a popular fighting game. Okay, this makes a little more sense. Sorry, just got too excited whenever I saw this character from another well-known franchise popping up on the Star Wars wiki.
Okay, I think I was right. On the Soul Calibur page on Wikipedia, in the Star Wars characters images, there's Darth Vader initially was PS3 exclusive, and Yoda was initially Xbox.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess PlayStation.
I knew that was in my brain from somewhere.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense. Darth Vader's black, the PlayStation was black, the Xbox.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that was like they were like kind of color coordinating it, and Yoda's green, Xbox is green. There's some logic there.
I had no idea that Starkiller was in it. Not a clue. It's very funny because it doesn't. Starkiller in The Force Unleashed looks like Sam Witwer. This one looks less like Sam Witwer, which makes me think they must have just had to like model, just make a new model or something. I don't know.
They weren't able to do like a full like face scan or whatever.
This Darth Vader is ripped. He is stacked. And obviously Darth Vader's a big guy, but I don't know. Anyway. Another thing that's interesting to me is I don't know if I've actually seen this before. I'm sure it exists. Well, obviously it exists. It's right here. And forgive me if we've talked about this on the show before, but there's a non-canon tag where you would normally see Legends or canon on Wikipedia. And I don't remember ever having seen that. So don't crucify me if I have seen it before, and I have done this exact same thing on the podcast in the past. But anyway, that was a fun little diversion. Wham Sitwer. I kind of hate that.
Wham Sitwer.
Wham Sitwer. That's kind of terrible, actually, but it also might be the episode title, so you never know. Anyway. Cole, is there anything else before we get into the heartbreak this week? And even though we kind of approach the edge of heartbreak, there is more heartbreak that happens. In this,
it's true.
We
did have some stuff happen. Some pretty significant stuff. So
it's bad. Oh, it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we can just get into it. There's, like I said, there's quite a bit. There's also like a good bit of action stuff. So this may not take a lot of time. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will.
It's hard to say how this stuff plays out. How much discussion there is in it versus how much
I imagine
just play by play.
Even if this one's shorter, I imagine next week there will probably be some feelings had. So you'll get your monthly quota will remain the same. Will remain filled.
Yes. All right. Let's get into it. Picking up chapter 15. And our opening quote is a Jedi Padawan, and they're discussing clones, and it's pretty negative comments, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm pretty sure they don't suffer. They don't know any better.
This is a
you poor naive child.
This is a case of typical Jedi incompetence, I think. for sure.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, that is shorthanded from Skyhoppers. Uh, it's a very kind of cyclical inside joke. Karen Trav, the Clone Wars episode blurbs, like summary blurbs on Google that Dakota reads before each Skyhoppers, before we discuss each episode of Skyhoppers, are pretty lackluster at times. And one was it literally, did it say typical Jedi incompetence, or was it just Jedi I don't even remember how it,
I feel like it said typical Jedi incompetence.
which is, and that's why, obviously the joke is Karen Travis
And we were
hates
like,
Jedi
did
and
Karen
thinks,
Travis write this?
yes, Karen Travis hates Jedi and thinks they're all terrible. She must have written the thing. So typical Jedi incompetence is, like I said, a very meta cyclical joke. But as we all know, jokes are funnier when you explain them. So Cole, without further ado, will you please save me from myself?
Yep, so we're back on Kashyyyk with Etane and Delta Squad. And, it's 3 days into the Battle of Coruscant, and it's 1,083 days after the Battle of Geonosis at this point. And as we know, the exfiltration date that they've set is 1,090 days.
It's just not right. It's just not right.
Good timing, guys.
It's just
Great
not right.
timing.
Oh,
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, so Battle of Coruscant's been going on for 3 days already, which I think I talked about last week. I mentioned it, that it's like, yeah, the battle goes on for several days, like
Yeah.
nearly a week, I think.
yeah, it's a long time.
Which is not something that you really get from the movie, but makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah, of course.
With all the stuff that had to happen.
Right, like it would have, obviously, there had to be the team that gets Palpatine, and no real world battle of that size just comes and goes in 15 minutes at the beginning of a movie. You
Right.
know? And Karen Travis is not
And
about
we're seeing the beginning of the movie, the Separatists are trying to escape with Palpatine.
right.
Which means they've already arrived and captured him.
They've already
So
got
all that stuff happened off screen.
Yes. Over the course of a week.
Over the course of a week, apparently. So, yeah. So, Delta Squad and Etane are all pretty antsy because they know about what's going on in Coruscant, but can't do anything about it. And they're far enough out on the outer rim that they're not being recalled like some of the other commandos and Jedi. So, they're all just kind of like sitting on their hands, doing the battle in Kashyyyk, but, also like, really would like to be able to help out because
Just kind
our
of
brothers and family are there.
Yeah.
And she even tells them that she has a kid at this point.
Well, because what in her mind, what does she have to lose, right? She's left the Order. This is her last engagement. She's done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I do love how Boss responds like, "We didn't hear that, ma'am. You don't have to worry about it." It's like they're chill.
They are.
They're chill, but it's still like, because they're like stunned, like, well, we can't talk about this, so
Moving on.
moving on. Yeah. Yep. So basically just checking in with them because, they're just doing their battle stuff. Nothing super interesting going on there.
Yeah.
Back on Coruscant, it's another day past. Omega and Yayak squad are doing just defense of the H&E center.
Yeah.
Trying to keep the broadcast going. And they're just doing that until they can move the portable transmitter, which successfully happens during all this. And obviously, Darman is worried sick because can't get a hold of Etane. It's just chaos. Utter chaos.
Well, and it's hard to, every time Darman would say, it's like, I can't get through or whatever, I'm just like, oh, they're not going to hear from each other, are they? I'm just imagining, I'm just assuming the worst. I'm like, oh, it's not going to happen for them. It's not going to.
Yeah, every time they talk, you're like, is this the last time?
Is this the last one? Yeah. Oh, God. The tension is just physical. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad.
So, both Darman and Aten send off their marriage proposals.
Yeah.
Darman does his by text because he can't get a comm channel open, but Aten contacts Lasima and they exchange vows. Done deal. So more and more married folk in these books.
That's why I was just another point in the camp of Darman and Etain are not going to talk again. Darman will not hear back. You know, it's like she's gonna die before she has a chance to respond to his message or whatever.
Or she'll respond, but by the time he gets it, it'll be too late.
Yeah, something. Oh,
So there's so many ways for it to be tragic, right?
I know, and I just kept waiting.
And because of how like smoothly everything's been going, you're just primed. Like,
yes,
something's gonna go wrong. It has to go wrong.
Absolutely.
This can't have a happy ending. Can it?
No. It's called
Don't
Order
wanna get your hopes up?
66. No, it's like the most tragic thing in Star Wars. It's Order 66. You know, there's no good that comes from this.
Mm-hmm. You're true. It's true. All right. Another day passes. Now we're at the safe house with Cal and Val, and they're taking stock where everybody's at. And most everything's like they've got the AIN ready to go. They've got stuff there. Most everything's ready, but they've also got, I think they said 21 people they've got to evacuate
Yeah,
currently because of the prisoners they've extracted and all the people they have and their wives, and
I was very
everybody's
happy.
like, oh,
Very happy to get an official count. Just like, oh,
yeah, it's like,
perfect. It's
okay.
all right there.
It's all right there, but it's also like, oh my gosh, there's so many people that something could happen to at any point.
But is it here where he's like, yeah, we're like, it's a weird clan. We're kind of all over the place, but we're a clan.
We're a clan, yeah.
And I was like, that's so nice. It's going to break my heart in 15 pages.
Yeah. And they're not all going to fit in their little submarine ship, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Jusik came in his little aggressor ship. So they're going to send out some of them on that ship first, lighten the load, split them up. Hopefully that'll work out for the best. And the trickiest part of all this apparently is going to be getting Omega out because, they're still on active duty.
Right.
Everyone else is kind of free range, as it were. The Omegas and the Jedi, they can kind of go as they please.
Yeah.
But Omega is kind of entrenched, and there's a battle going on.
Right. It's
Deserting in the middle of a battle can be difficult.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't too worried, actually. I understand like they were worried, but to me, Omega is like done. Like but I guess, if they're in the middle of the battle, they have that. It's not just like, oh, we're deserting in a moment of relative peace. Like none of our brothers are in immediate danger. We can feel better about leaving them.
Mm-hmm.
Where now it's like, that probably even comes up here at one point or another where it's like, well, crap. Like my brothers are actively dying and I'm running away.
No way to feel good about that.
No. And maybe it's Ordo who kind of does mention something along those lines or feels something similar. But anyway, that's jumping ahead a little for sure. Mm-hmm. So I'll hold off on that.
Yep. So Cal, he decides knock some of these people out of the equation, goes to Obram's place to get Bethany, Lacima, and Cad. That's where they've been holed up ever since he rescued them before the raid on their apartment would have happened. So he goes there to pick them up, gets them settled, and while he's there, he gives Obram's wife like 9 million credits in cash. And it's like, hey, use this to take care of yourself, and then give whatever's left to that senator guy that's trying to help the clones out.
I can't even imagine just this.
I love that she's just like,
It always throws me off because I read the New Rebellion semi recently, and her name is Telti, which is a planet, and it definitely threw me off because I was tired when I was reading it. I'm like, wait, Telti Obram, what does that have to what? How does Telti? Why are we talking about Telti? And I'd forgotten that was just his wife's name. It's just Jowler's wife's name.
It's probably only the first or second time we've learned her name. Honestly.
I think it's the second time because it clicked, and I was like, okay, I think I remember this. So I do think it is the second time that she's been named.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. yeah, so picks up the girls and Cad, takes them down to the AIN so they can get settled in, be ready to go. Just one less piece of the puzzle that's out in the wild. They're all settled now. Says, okay, the kid's safe. 2 of the wives are safe. It's like we're checking things off. It's okay. Every piece that's safe lifts a little bit of burden, right?
Sure.
You would hope.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So I understand
And
Cal's, well, getting a little ahead of myself. Sorry. Just the frustration when they all start trying to run away and
yeah,
go
well,
grab the
you know.
others.
But while he's down on the ship, he contacts Gillimar and is informed that the Chancellor's been kidnapped. What?
Dun dun dun.
Oh, okay. So we're getting into the movie basically now.
Yeah, and that's a very, very clever way to tell you where we're at in the grand scheme of things. It's just, I mean, it's just hard to tie anything to the movie because...
Yeah, it's like, okay, that gives us a grounding moment.
Sure.
And all the, like, more Jedi have been recalled, including, obviously, Anakin and Obi-Wan. But he's like, this is probably a good time to get Etain out since a bunch of Jedi are being recalled anyway.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Probably wouldn't be suspicious to have her come back too. So, and that's the end of chapter 15.
Okay.
16. We have a quote about Mandalorian culture, talking about how the armor is both a way to make them survive longer, so give them all like a similar identity visually.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. It's an interesting way to think about it, since they're not necessarily one species.
Yeah, I'm curious too that like if these little bits of Mandalorian culture will become fewer and farther between as time goes on, or like through the next book, because I'm just wondering like, will there be as many opportunities for that to be even kind of, because a lot of times these quotes are like just tangentially relevant, and I'm just wondering if we'll continue to see them,
Yeah. Well, because we're presumably going to be spending more time on Mandalore proper.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I just know that some of them end up with the Empire. That's all I know. On some
Just because the
level.
name Imperial Commando.
Exactly. That's it. So realistically, I guess I don't even know for a fact that that's what's happening. But it's my assumption.
Yeah. So we're still on Coruscant. We're in the reservoir hideout place. It's still 1,085 days after Geonosis. So several days into the attack, but it's still going on. And Mariel is prepped to launch in the aggressor with all of their prisoner people, as well as Spar and Soul. So they're ready to go, and they're just waiting for everything. Basically going to be launching whenever Grievous is trying to leave.
Yeah.
So that happens. They get out. It's all cool. So some of them have escaped and gotten safely away. The first transport is away. The first transport is away.
It's a really stressful moment too, because Cal's tension is palpable through the book. Just because I feel like you don't see him get tense like that often, and he's he's like silent and just waiting for waiting for confirmation that they made it through the blockade and everything. So
Gets confirmation, just wilts with relief.
Yes, exactly, and you can feel it.
Some of my boys are safe.
Some. There's still quite a few more.
So many of them. There's so many of them, unfortunately. But yeah, some of them off the table. They're safe. It's cool. So the battle is largely over because Grievous has escaped. Palpatine's been rescued. Again, we're into the movie proper now.
Yes.
All this stuff has happened. And, they're just trying to stay in touch with Omega. It's like, keep tabs. Like, okay, make sure we know where they are at all times. So hopefully extract them as cleanly as possible.
Right.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So 2 days later, at the Core Plaza on Coruscant, we jumped so much.
I was gonna say, can I take a second and just really talk about how the tension builds with once you get into the movie, once you get into Revenge of the Sith, every day that passes builds the tension exponentially.
It's like, oh no,
Because
we're so close now.
we're so close, and like, well, okay, we know that some time passes between the Battle of Coruscant and whenever Obi-Wan leaves for Utapau, but how much time? Is it 2 days? Maybe.
Hard to say. Yeah,
Oh,
and like they said,
God.
we're jumping days here really, really quickly, but then we get to a point where like, oh, we're jumping 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Oh.
Mhm. Yeah, so still in Coruscant, Ordo gets word from Jang that Grievous is back on Utapau. Obviously, because
Yeah.
he's been there for a while. That's been his base, and they've had him pegged forever too. But they've been sitting on that intelligence.
Sure.
It's like, okay, now's the time to finally give the Jedi that information. And then Jang and Comric are going AWOL, dropping everything, head to Mandalore. So, 2 more Knolls out of the picture.
It's so easy for them.
Yeah, the Knolls have it the easiest because they're just off doing their own thing.
Yeah, they're always just kind of allowed to do whatever they want.
Yeah, but Ordo, he's going to take the intelligence to Zay personally, drop it all off. So he goes to Arca Barracks, drops it off, and afterwards, Zay asks him, like, why don't you like Jedi? And he tells him.
He tells him.
He lays it all out, and Zay even like basically agrees with him, agrees with
Yeah.
all the points he makes. And is like, yeah, the whole Republic need to change. Obviously, something's wrong. And again, it's like, Zay, you're on the right track, but I feel like it's just, where we are in the timelines. Like you're too late, brother.
It's too late, and like well, I guess it's a little later. That's Etain. Master Fulier was
Mhm.
Etain's master. Had she
Yes.
talking about him a little later. And Zay, I don't know. I do want to say we're getting to the point there are no Jedi anymore, right? We're about to be the point where there are no more Jedi in these books,
Mhm.
at least in the like as Jedi in
Yeah,
game
yeah.
openly.
The Order will be gone.
Yes. I have yet to read anything to this point that tells me that Karen Travis hates the Jedi. I've yet to see it, because even this is Zay understanding that, like, constantly we've talked about how we've seen that Zay is on the right side of this, but he's operating, as a part of the system. He's a member of the Jedi Order. He's a master. He has to answer to the Council, which answers to the Republic, for better or for worse, even
Mhm.
though he knows what he's doing is wrong. Deep down, he knows what he's doing is wrong. Like, she is still willing to write that into a character and not be like, oh, the Jedi are all just like, yeah, pro slave army, like, we
Mhm.
love that. No. It's just, too little too late. Like you said, though.
Mhm.
It's just hard that,
And I think this is also where they bring up Kenobi specifically
yeah.
and kind of roast him a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone hates Kenobi in this book.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why either, but it's funny that I think it's just something about that Cody might think the sun shines out of Kenobi's ear or something. But they find him like wasteful with his men and such. Like, yeah, I mean, he's probably not, the most experienced general, as it were.
No, and it's also
know.
one of those things where I guess he doesn't really spend a lot of the movies commanding clones, so you can't even really extrapolate. That seems like something
No,
she
not
must
really.
have just kind of come up with.
Mm-hmm. Might be based on some comic stuff, like, because there's definitely been some stuff pulled from that.
That's
but
possible.
I don't really know.
Yeah, that's possible. And in fact, I'd be willing to bet that that's probably what it is.
Mhm.
But I just don't have the context.
Yeah, it's definitely not based on our Clone Wars appearances of him, because that is before this, or
Yes.
This is written before that,
Yeah.
so But so Zay, it's like, okay, he's on the level at least, but Ordo's like, I can't, I'm not gonna do anything else here,
Yeah.
and he leaves. But then Maze follows him, and the two of them kind of have a heart to heart, as it were.
Yeah.
And turns out Maze is even more like self-aware than he kind of realized on stuff, and Ordo kind of underestimated him.
Well, I mean, the Maze is an alpha, right?
Yes.
So it's like they're just one step below the Null Arcs, right?
It's true. It's true.
So it's really not much of a stretch. Like, especially if someone like Core will open up in the right to, a more, an open mind, more free
And
thinking.
They've been stationed on Coruscant, with a desk job. So he's had lots of time to observe the public
And just sit there and
he's apparently he reads a lot.
yeah. So I guess though, I don't know. I guess I could see Ordo just kind of feeling like, well, just feeling apart from all the other clones and not kind of
Mhm.
understanding that anyone outside of his little group might be a little less amenable to deserting.
Yeah.
Unlike Maze, who you kind of get the vibe if he was asked, he might go.
Yeah,
But
that is kind of the vibe you get.
you can't take the risk though, obviously.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. But nice, a little bit more humanity for Maze, and even ask him like straight up, like, "Do you see the injustice?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, too well.
yeah,
I see it." It's like, oh,
and that
it's more sad stuff.
can I tell you right there, Cole? That's when it all clicked. That's when I realized this is why Order 66 works. Not just the unwavering loyalty, but
Mhm.
all of the resentment from some of these clones.
Mhm.
Not so many of these clones are anti-Jedi themselves. They follow their orders because they're their commanders or whatever, but at the end of the day, any clone with any ounce of self-awareness and awareness of the
Yeah,
situation.
they're aware of all that, and then also when the order comes through, the order is tied to like an event that happens, like the Jedi betrayed the Republic,
Yeah.
and so they're like, there's this little simmering resentment, and then also like, oh, they straight up betrayed us.
Then
Screw them.
exactly. Like, we don't need any chips. We don't need any, inhibitor chips because
There's no mind control needed. It's
they're obedient, and the Jedi kind of in their minds have given them the reason to hate them, whether consciously or subconsciously. And that's I read it. I kind of like put the book down for a minute because I'm like, oh my god, like and I'm sure the pieces were all there, but that's the moment where it all kind of fell into place. And I'm like,
yeah,
of course it works.
it's been all this world building, all this stuff it's all paying off.
Of course it works because
It all pays off so perfectly. Unfortunately,
if you've got people, there's the clones are already obedient, and if half of them, a third of them are like Maze, they're gonna have no problem following that order. So I don't know. It was rough.
It's like, oh, it makes sense why it works so well.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it does.
But Ordo even offers Maze like, hey, if you want out, let me know. We can do better than Maze can, because Zay even offered Maze like, hey, I think we had the quote from him offering in that previous chapter.
Yeah.
Where Zay was like, hey, if you needed something that a way out of there, let me know. I'll help.
Yeah.
And Ordo was like, hey, we can do better than him.
Yeah.
We have a trillionaire on our side.
Yeah. Well, even if they're not part of Skirata's merry little band of Mandalorian clones, like they all have, De Huerta Verda, they've got the Mandalorian culture as Kaminoan clones. Like it's more familiar to them than life in the greater galaxy would be, no matter what.
Oh yeah, so for sure. So back to Kashyyyk. The Republic is finally dedicating more resources to taking Kashyyyk, because obviously Yoda's been deployed there, Master Voss is there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, depending on how you feel about Master Voss. And Etane's there, obviously with Delta, but they're all doing their mission, and they're trying to take a separatist turbo laser battery. And you haven't played the game through fully, have you? This happens in the game.
Oh, does it?
Yes, this is straight up from the game.
The whole thing.
Yeah, except for Etane like being there and like those stuff. But yeah, them taking these turbo laser emplacements and Sev going missing, straight up out of the game.
Oh. Fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's fun. That is fun. I mean,
So
fun.
that's
Air quotes.
it's a bit of a spoiler if you haven't played the game
Well,
through, but
whatever.
and I'm just gonna say it right now, straight up. There's no closure for this.
Nope. I was maybe against my better judgment, or maybe this was a bad idea. I was curious again. I was reading just about Karen Travis' other work. I was on her website
Mhm.
and was just kind of reading her FAQ, and it's like, like, why did you leave Star Wars and all these things? And it's like, well, turns out I've probably spoken out of my ass a little bit on that. Like, it seems like she had very professional reasons for leaving Star Wars for the most part.
Mhm.
That wasn't the fans fighting her, as a lot of people kind of, make it out to. Assuming, with two sides to every story and all that. But
Of course.
anyway, yeah, so I saw that she had mentioned that she would have loved to, kind of give the closure for Sev, but she's not going to do it. And
Yeah.
obviously,
I
this is
don't think she was allowed to either, just because it was a game character fate, and there were still at least maybe plans to do another
sure.
game
Yeah.
or something. So Sev disappears here, and we never get any answers on what happened to him, unfortunately. So just gonna
Well,
nip that in the bud here, for everybody. Sorry, there's no answers.
well, I think it's nice though on some level, because at least when a story isn't going to end or be finished, I do kind of respect the ability to say, yeah, I think he's still alive. You can go, I think he's still alive, and not be
Oh,
never be
and
directly contradicted by
I know there
anything.
were some people that were really hoping on that episode of Bad Batch when they were rescuing Gunji. They
Oh,
were hoping Sev was going to show up because it was on Kashyyyk,
sure.
and we'd already had Scorch show up in the show, so it's like, you could do
That
something here.
that would have been cool, and also would have probably carried a lot of baggage. But I mean, I guess
Yeah,
you said it's
that's
maybe
part of
not,
the
because you
problem.
just said it's from the game. It's just from the
It's
game.
from the game first,
And
yes.
canonizing the game, I guess, would not be, or canonizing some version of the events probably wouldn't be that big
exactly.
of a deal.
Mhm.
It's not like you're canonizing inherently like Cal Skirata and this this
No.
cadre of clones that he's collected.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so
Definitely not.
who knows?
Just like, okay, the events of the game probably still basically happened, and this is what happened to Sev. So,
Sure.
okay, that could have been fun. But, obviously it didn't happen, but I know as soon as we knew we were going to Kashyyyk, there were people who were like, maybe, just maybe.
I can't blame him, especially because I had no idea this happened too. So, of all of the ones, like, why couldn't it have been Fixer? Why have to be Sev?
Because it's got to be one of the ones you get really attached to,
It's not even Boss. She hardly even like Boss hardly speaks.
Well, again, I think that's probably because he is the player character.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. It was a bummer, but
yeah, and this is all again done through Scorch's POV.
yeah.
And Scorch is extremely broken up about this whole thing, and like at first just straight up refuses to leave. It's like, I'm not leaving him.
Well, because Delta's an original squad, correct? They've been together since the beginning.
Yes, exactly. Since the very beginning.
I don't even know. Yeah, in the same situation, I'd like to think that I would do the same thing Scorch does. And just like say, no, we're not leaving him. That's the most asinine thing I've ever heard. We're going after him. It's what he would do. It's like, it was heartbreaking. It really was. It was very hard to read. It was
because they get orders straight from Master Yoda to exfiltrate, and Boss, bless his heart, just follow orders. And ultimately, as much as Scorch protests, he does follow the orders.
He does.
And they leave him behind, or he might be dead. He's probably dead, as far as we're concerned. But they don't know for sure. There's no body. There's no nothing. They just abandoned him.
Yeah.
Scorch is extremely shameful about the whole thing. It's like,
well,
just killing him.
And then it comes up too, where it's just like one of them said, maybe it's probably Scorch, says like, I mean, what are we supposed to do? He's sitting out there, if he's he's acting as though he's alive, and he's like, he's sitting out there just thinking we've abandoned him, thinking we've left him. So Scorch is not only thinking about leaving Sev, but probably, the shame of having Sev think that way about him and about Delta.
Yeah.
It was hard.
It sucks.
It was way harder than I ever thought it would be, reading about Delta because they're not the squad we follow.
They're not the squad,
Yeah,
but it still sucks. It
it
still
does.
really
It's
sucks.
terrible.
Because, over these last 3 books, we've gotten to know them relatively well.
Relatively well. At least Scorch and Sev for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Chapter 17, our opening quote is a monologue from Waylon Vow to his training cadets back in the early days of Camino. Just, telling him he's going to make them into survivors. Yeah, survivors.
That's the worst thing too, right? Where it's just like they're thinking that with Sev, where it's like he's not dead. Vow did not
He didn't
train
raise
us. Exactly.
people to die.
He didn't raise people to die. Sev is alive, and we've left him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it makes my stomach stink just to think about. And
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Yep. And the very beginning of this chapter picks up right there, but with Etain instead, and she's feeling the exact same way. He's like, no, we can't leave. We can't leave a man behind. And it's not her, wanting to obey orders. It's Inaka, who has got orders from Cal.
Yeah, literally won't.
Get her here immediately. And forcibly.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Literally manhandled by Wookiees to a ship.
And she's like,
but
I can't use the force to get out of them without like seriously hurting them in some way, probably. So,
but thankfully Inaka's like, hey, we'll search for him.
Yeah.
Wookiees are going to be better at searching than you are anyway in the jungle. So we'll search. If he's there, we'll find him. It'll be okay.
That's so bad too, just because it's like you never get that closure, and
everything
as Inaka is saying it makes perfect sense. Oh, it's like it's their home turf. Of course they're going to be better at searching.
Yeah.
There's hope, and it never goes anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, no closure. But they're headed to Coruscant, and Etain gets Dar's message, obviously, and reciprocates. It can't send out her reply yet because they're in hyperspace. But she's like, obviously she's going forward with it.
And see, even then, I'm just like, she says yes, but she has not sent that message back. Darman doesn't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no closure to that yet. Quite yet. Yeah. Oh boy. So they're heading to Coruscant, and the fighting's basically over. There's some like pockets of resistance still fighting up, like homegrown separatists that were on the planet whenever the attack happened, still causing some trouble, but nothing serious going on. And Kenobi has been sent after Grievous, so another little milestone.
It's happening.
It's like, oh no, it's getting very, very close.
We are so close.
Yeah. Back in Arca Barracks, 1,089 days after Geonosis. Omega has been assigned to work with some other squads with CSF, doing some cleanup with dissidents. Just kind of some work they've done before. Familiar stuff. It's all good. No big deal. Etain is inbound. Hasn't reached there yet. And it's almost evac time. It's literally tomorrow is the day they've planned for. So, what could possibly go wrong?
Everything.
Right?
Everything can go wrong. Kenobi's on Utapau.
Omega, they're all pretty upset because they've heard about what happened with Sev and Delta. They're upset with Delta for leaving. Like, how could they do that? And I do love the candid moment that Aten and Darman have, where Aten's like, hey, whenever we were on Kalura, I voted to leave you, to not search for you. But that was before we were family.
Yeah. Well,
it's a nice candid moment.
It is. It's hard too, just knowing that they're not in the same situation as the Deltas, right? The Deltas are still very much on the side of the Republic. They might have their doubts. Scorch is kind of losing it. But the thought of deserting has probably never crossed their minds. These clones are obviously going to be like, how on earth could you possibly ignore your orders? Go save him. I don't know. It's almost like apples to oranges. It's like these clones are in completely separate walks of life at this point. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's instructive seeing the differences in how they've been raised and
Right.
the situations they've gone through. It's been very trying for everybody.
Trying for everybody.
So later that same day, 2100 hours. Now we're getting into very granular time changes.
Yes.
2100 hours. Ordo decides to freshen up a bit before he leaves this life behind him forever. Literally, he's like shaving with a knife because that's
Yeah, that's
what
how commandos do
Mandalorians
it. Yeah, of course.
And while he's cleaning up, Maze comes in and is like, "Hey, Kenobi killed Grievous, so war's about to be over." Uh, so Maze leaves to go guest report to Zay or whatever's going on exactly, and then Ordo's helmet chimes, and here it is, the moment we've all been waiting for.
It was so much less dramatic than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was written kind of dramatically, but in terms of like, there's no like death montage. It just kind of happens. But of course, that makes perfect sense. This book is not about Jedi.
Nope, it's not.
Etain,
about our clones.
all the Jedi we care about are not around clones currently.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of happens. It's like this big build up to this thing, and it's like, oh, okay, well now it's gonna hit the fan. But you know, like who are we concerned about? Jusik and Etain. Jusik to a much lesser extent even than Etain, I think.
And then you probably also questioning like, what about Zay? What's gonna happen to Zay?
I certainly
He's the
did.
only one that's still.
I knew Zay wasn't going to live. I knew Zay was going to die for sure.
Yeah.
But
so
I didn't realize it was going to be so hard to read about.
yeah. We'll get there very shortly.
Yeah.
Very shortly. So chapter 18. Our quote is just Order 66 in detail.
Yep. Finally. She was planting that seed like what? It was like last book, wasn't it?
I think
was
it was.
Like True Colors was Order 65 or whatever.
Yeah, it was like I think it gave us like Order 65 or 64 and 65 maybe.
Yeah.
Just like, and they were like pretty mundane things, but 66 is like in the case of Jedi trying to overthrow the Chancellor, command of the clones will return. No one what but the Chancellor, and they will be executed. The wording of it's all like, it's a contingency order.
It is.
It's like, what if this thing happens? Well, this is what we would do. And wouldn't you know, that's exactly what the Jedi tried to do. They tried to overthrow the Chancellor.
Well, I mean, they did.
I mean,
but
in the most literal sense.
Oh, it's the worst.
Isn't it?
Knocked out by a technicality, just like a TKO on the Jedi Order. That sucks.
Palpatine's like, the best way to be right is technically.
Technically correct. Oh, God. I hate that man.
Yeah.
I hate him so much.
So chapter 18 picks up 2120 hours. 20 minutes later, Darman and Aten are hanging out in a CSF speeder, and they're both, Darman especially, is in a panic. He's like, what's gonna happen to Etain? Because she's inbound and we can't contact her, and the order has happened.
I love that there's just like, because again, you're kind of, conditioned, I guess is an interesting choice of word here, but like, when Order 66 happens in the movies, all the clones are just like, absolutely, of course. And then in, the Clone Wars, basically same kind of thing. The Omegas, it's never a question for them. Like, obviously, we're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's funny to me that they're just like, no. Like, I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, I think they say something like, what if we run across a Jedi? It's like, we'll just ignore them.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not our problem. We're getting out of here.
But see, that's the thing, because even them, they're not like, no, the Jedi didn't do anything wrong. They were just like, we'll ignore them. They're like, we'll ignore them. That's it.
It's not our problem. We don't want to deal with it.
It's not because they're air quotes good and realize the reality of the situation. I think that's what's the most interesting thing to me, is that they're just like, no, we exist outside the command structure now. That's why we're not doing this. Not because the Jedi are inherently, not like a Rex thing where Rex is like,
Mhm.
no, this isn't right. You know, that sort of thing.
Right.
Much less
Yeah.
dramatic, but way more kind of realistic in its own way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is our extremely short chapter where they just get dropped off by the CSF, commandeer a speeder, and head off, hoping to be able to do something, but
Yeah.
not really sure what they can do. Well, we're gonna wing it. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Dynamic risk assessment, I think is what they call it. So, chapter 19. Our quote is from Spar, being like, I bet the Jedi wish they'd asked more questions about this army at the point.
Well, he says it like that, and you're just suddenly kind of left thinking, why didn't you? Why did you just take it? It doesn't make any sense.
Because they needed it at the time. And it worked so well. Why would you question it?
That's the hardest thing. That seeing all the Jedi that we know had their misgivings about the war, and no one did anything. No one, I guess not enough people truly said no. Truly were like, this isn't right. You know? I mean, freak, even like, I don't know, didn't even, what's his name? Callista's master whatever. Can't think of his name. Altus. Like, even did he have clones? He even had clones, right? Like, he was
I think so.
Yeah, like, he had gotten some, unit of clones. And it's like, he was, I don't know. Because hindsight's 20/20, of course, but you look back, it's like, this is not right. And obviously, we all know it's not right. These are humans, and, the whole thing. And I just... But I guess it's not drama if everyone behaves rationally.
Yeah, it's true.
And you're right, though. You're right. They did need it at the time. Like, there was this crisis, and it was here. So, I don't know. I don't know, man.
All right, now we're at 2220 hours. Inaka delivers Etain to the Kraget, even though she's like, I don't know if I should drop you anywhere because this planet is clearly not safe.
Yeah.
Crawling with clones and police and everyone that are turning against the Jedi because obviously the Jedi tried to kill the Chancellor.
Yeah, I think
They're evil.
I do like that it was even touched on that the police are cooperating for the most part too, because it's like,
yeah, they had standing orders just to cooperate with Jedi, but then now it's like at least like detain or report on their location and such.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, suddenly all these cops that were our friends, not anymore.
Can't rely on that anymore. Yeah.
Like maybe like Obram's specific, station would still be okay with Etain, but
sure, most of them.
That's clearly not all of CSF.
They'd be like, wait. The new guy would be like, wait, isn't that a Jedi? And one of the old timers would be like, no, it's okay. She knows Phi. And he's like, oh, she knows Phi?
Knows
Good man.
Phi.
Good man. Good man, that Phi.
Yeah, that would be the answer, obviously. Get out of jail free card with all CSF.
Yeah. Oh, you know Phi? That's funny.
Perfect solution. The Jedi Temple is burning. But Etain goes on the Kraget and gets a change of clothes out of her, pretty distinctive Jedi robes.
Air quotes, change of clothes. Just like whatever she can find at the Kraget.
Whatever the waitress on staff lets her borrow some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's good enough. It's not Jedi clothing, so it's better than what she's
than
got.
Jedi clothing, yeah.
Yeah. And she can't raise Darman on comms because the comms are just overwhelmed at the moment.
Sure.
There's lots of stuff going on in Coruscant.
Every time this happens, it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that happens, my certainty that they're not going to get through to each other gets more and more.
Yep. It's the tension is... Jusik is texting her, like, hey, stay put. I'm going to come and get you. But Etain, being the stubborn girl that she is, like, no, I get there on my own. It's fine. I'm safe. It's okay. It's like,
oh, it's so bad.
Please. So, and I do love that Etain has a moment. I can't believe anyone was able to kill Mace Windu.
Yeah.
On the attempt on the Chancellor's, like, I wonder what happened. Little does she know.
Oh my god, it's like it's only the crux of it's only indirectly the reason you exist, like in a meta sense.
Uh-huh. Like, oh, it's the one thing that makes the whole thing make sense.
Yeah. That
But
too, in an
how could you
in-universe
know?
context.
How could
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. Back at the ship. 22:35 hours.
15 minutes
Jeez.
later.
15 minutes later. Everyone is there except for Niner, Darman, Aiden, Ordo, and Etane.
Why is Core
Ordo's-
there?
Who?
Core.
Oh, Core? Him and who was with him? Was it him and Niner? Or was it
I
him
forgot
and
they
Aiden?
were all. I forgot they were all kind of split up.
They were like in pairs. So
Yeah.
2 of them are there. Yeah, him and Aiden are there, but Niner and Darman are still out.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they abandoned their post or whatever and went
Right.
went to them. So they're safe. And Waylon Val, our man, he has a revelation. And it's pretty great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, great in the
It's also kind of the scariest we've ever seen him be.
yeah.
You know?
Where he like grabs Cal by the collar and like
just
almost just like screaming at him.
screaming
like,
at him. Yeah.
Don't you understand? This is what Django was doing. Django is the most patient man I've ever seen. He got what he wanted. He got rid of the Jedi.
It wasn't.
He didn't
just
live
about,
to see it,
Yeah.
but
It wasn't just
like,
about
oh.
5 million credits and a son. It was so much more.
mm-hmm. It's like, oh, huh? It gives you a little bit of more perspective on Django himself.
It does.
It's like
I hate that it makes me like him a little less, and I don't like that. But you know, Mandalorians are Mandalorians. It is what it
checks out
is.
with what we know about him, with especially the stuff with on Galadran,
Yeah.
where Django's army was wiped out,
Yeah.
and we find out that Val could have and felt like he should have been there, and so could Cal,
Yeah.
and
They
neither
both
one of
should have
them
been
were. And Val was the one that picked Cal for the mission for the Duvaldar.
Yeah.
It's like all these little pieces fitting together, and Cal's like, "Oh, I see." It was kind of like punishment in a way.
Yeah, like it's like I have to atone, and so do you, because we weren't there.
We weren't there, and we probably should have been. So we're making it right now, and now look what they've done. They've really helped orchestrate all of it in a way.
Yeah. But then we get just some true bro content here. Everything that's happened before us, a field of fresh snow, like water under the bridge.
Wipe the slate clean.
It's good. And then
Starting fresh right here, right now. New brothers, basically.
And it sucks because Waylon Val is still a terrible guy. Like,
yeah,
hasn't changed. That hasn't changed at all.
Hasn't really changed, but we have gotten to know him a little better, a little deeper, and it's like you can respect the guy.
Yeah, you can, and it's just like, I mean, it's easy because it's fiction, right? I don't have to truly reckon with the fact that he is a good guy who's just done terrible things to other people. Like, it's fiction makes it easier.
Yes,
I can
definitely.
I can like him without condoning what he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I said, they have a big bro moment. It's great. But then Chusic's like, so this is all well and good, but Django still didn't plan all of it. Even if this was, his great revenge on the Jedi, he didn't plan it. He wasn't the one that ordered the army creation or like. So who did? The $1 million question.
Indeed.
The 3 million clone question.
Well, it was Sifo Dyas, obviously, right?
Yeah, Sifo Dyas. Yeah. Sido Diaz. Sidios. Mm-hmm.
That's so funny to me that, like, as a kid, I just completely glossed over that whole thing. I'm like, who is Sifo Dyas? What? I don't understand.
far as the movies are concerned, it doesn't matter at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, honestly, I think those episodes of Clone Wars where they go after him are pretty good.
I haven't watched those in a long time.
I enjoyed them, but anyway, beside the
Yeah.
point.
So Cal, he calls Index to the rest of the Omegas, like, "Hey, y'all get out, y'all get here. We got to end this.
Yeah.
It's got to be over. It's got to be over." So back to Arca Barracks, 2240 hours. Ordo dons his Beskar gam. Gonna leave behind his arc gear, but gets just a hair sentimental. Can't leave the helmet in the comma behind.
Yeah. It's hard.
I love that he's like, "I didn't think I was a sentimental." Kind of disappointed in himself.
You can only be raised by Cal Skirata for so long and not pick up some of that sentimentality, right?
But he's there in the barracks. He was just like going over all of Omega's stuff, just making sure there's no incriminating anything anywhere. And he's sure all that's clean. And then he goes to Zay's office to clear out any data that he can, take anything that's left. So starts going through all of it. And while he's there, in walks Zay.
Ooh, worse for
In
wear.
pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
And he's a little manic, little confused. He's like, "Ordo?" It's like, "Why?" And Ordo's like, "Hey, it's orders, man. That's all it is. It's following the orders that were programmed into us.
Yeah.
Programmed into us from the beginning."
Yeah.
And Zay tries to explain, but it's the Sith. It's, and all this. And Ordo's like, "It doesn't matter.
It doesn't mean anything to me." Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything." And Maze is like, doesn't even know what Sith are.
Yeah. Like the Jedi, but on the other side.
Yeah. And he's like, "The Mandalorians worked for him for a long time, but then they betrayed him. So basically the same difference to us. Don't like either one of them very much."
That's funny because I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, that is a throwback to Tales of the Jedi. If I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure it is, because I bet money that it is. It's been a while since I've read them, but I remember that.
Yep. So Ordo takes what he came for, leaves Zay and Maze behind to sort out what they're going to sort out, but he hears what happens.
Yeah.
And
so do we.
Maze is gonna just like arrest him because, good soldier following orders. But Zay's like, "No, just end it. It's way better for it to come from you, dispassionately, than from the Sith."
Yeah. Who will not, are not going to be kind.
Order just hears a blaster shot.
And he's like, "Sir, well, I
Zay's
don't want to do
gone.
this, but if it's an order."
If that's an order. He's like, "I've never disobeyed an order."
And it's hard too, because like in another not very different timeline, Maze is going with them. Maze is not there. Maze does not follow the order because he's already deserting.
Yep.
Now, granted, Zay probably just would have got by somebody else, but
yeah, almost certainly.
You never know. I guess he probably would have, because even Ordo says, "Well, okay, Maze." He hears Maze charge up his blaster and is like, "Well, okay, it wasn't Maze that shot Zay. It was somebody else who did it initially." So,
yeah, something like that. So there goes Zay. Rest in peace.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It's not right. Not right. It's just not. It's just not right.
It's like you knew he was gonna die. There's no way he could survive.
I know, and it's like
the way it happens. Like his own, and like they're set up for it. Literally, the last few chapters where we had, it's like, oh, there's an arc with every single major Jedi, and it's like, oh, yeah, and
that's
it setting all these pieces together is dang it.
Yeah, I mean, Maze and Zay have been together since literally the first book. So I just
that was their introduction. We met both of them at the same time, basically. And they go out together.
I don't know. It was hard. I don't think we need to linger on it any longer. It was just a very difficult thing.
No, it's not. It's not happy. It's not happy. Chapter 20. We have Commander Bakara is our quote. talking about Jedi betrayal, and he's like, just saying like, "Hey, I would have done it even sooner. We're gonna betray us, basically become what we've been fighting this whole time." Again, it's just that that inbuilt resentment
Yep.
that was there.
I would have done
So,
it sooner. I was just like, they. Oh, it's just yet another layer of Palpatine's plan, right?
the
God, I
Jedi dug
hate
their
that
own
guy.
grave.
Hate that guy. Hate Palpatine so much.
Hate that guy, but you gotta respect.
You gotta respect.
He
Yeah.
really had the plan together, didn't he? So, Galactic City, 2250 hours. Dar and Niner are heading to the top side, have access to the reservoir, so they can get to the AIN. Get there, and when Jalur Obram is on top, trying to help out as much as
Even
he
though
can.
he's not supposed to be.
Even though he's not supposed to be. He's like, don't tell Cal I'm up here. Trying to make sure his boys all make it home.
We like
It's
this
like,
guy. We stand Jalur
There's a reason
Obram.
we like him.
Yeah.
There's a reason we still like him.
He's a good dude.
And Etain finally checks in. She's like 5 minutes from this bridge nearby with a checkpoint set up where the clones are checking civilians. And apparently this is like a straight shot from the Jedi Temple to like a spaceport.
Yeah.
So there's Jedi that escaped that are probably coming through this direction. So that's why. So a little bit of a tense area to be set up in.
Yeah. You could say that.
Yeah. So Dar and Niner are like, well, obviously we're gonna go help her.
Yeah.
We're not just gonna sit here, even though Cal's like, don't. Fine.
It's literally just okay, M dash. Like within the same sentence, he's just like, I thought I raised you all better than this. Be careful.
What happened to Yes, Sergeant?
Yeah. Exactly. He just goes like, oh, so quick, that turnaround. He's like, well, there's no stopping him. Whatever. I can't do it. I can't do anything.
So they're going, can't stop them. Cal's like, all right, I'm gonna go. And then Core and Etain are like, well, we're going too. So all of Omega's going to help Etain and Cal. And Cal also takes Juzik's lightsaber as a trophy. Just as kind of like it's like, hey, get out of jail free card. I'm a Mandalorian that kills. I'm okay here, right?
Yeah. Very good idea.
Which does work.
It does.
Like a 501st guy questions him. He's like, hey, I'm in it for the trophies, man.
We're on the same side here.
We're on the same side. So they're all there. They see Etain. She's getting through the line. Seems like everything's going smoothly. Nothing crazy happening. And then out of nowhere, there's a trio of young Jedi trying to make it through, and their cover gets blown. And chaos erupts, and that's where the chapter ends.
And Etain's just gonna walk right on by, just not get involved, and just say,
Obviously.
"Dear God, I was livid."
Talk about a powder keg, right?
I was livid when the chapter ended right there. I'm like, you have got to be. Not only have I only been reading for 7 minutes, but it's gonna end like that. You've got to be kidding me. I don't know that I really don't know if we have ended a reading on a more charged cliffhanger than this one.
Being this close to the end of the book and everything, yeah, it's like, ooh.
Where,
I know, as soon as I saw where it ended, I'm like, oh my gosh. I am amazing at this, and I didn't plan this at all. Because I really do, whenever I'm doing the chapter breakdowns, I really don't look at the chapters specifically.
Just pages.
I'm going by page counts.
Yeah.
And man, I couldn't have picked it better to make it just the most painful. Like, oh no, what's going to happen? Because it's like, entirety of Omega Squad is the only, but the whole current squad is there, and Cal and Etain. Bunch of clones, some Jedi, Order 66. It's no way it ends happily.
I know one person who doesn't die, and that's it. There is one person I know does not die here.
The one in the Mandalorian armor.
The one in the Beskar, right? But I don't know. Everyone else is fair game. I mean, Etane's going to die for sure.
Why are you so sure about that?
Cole, please. The book is called Order 66. She is I don't think it's lost on me that the 501st is name dropped here. These are not just any clones. This is the 501st that's out here doing this checkpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Trained on syntax to be Kaminoan and kill Jedi. You know, like it's all bad. It's all bad, and it's just obviously Omega. They're gonna help Etane. They're gonna fight back. I would imagine, anyway. And then
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how are they all gonna? Are they all gonna get out? They could. They could all get out. Etane might be the only one that dies. But it doesn't. Even knowing it's coming doesn't make it any easier. Like, I feel anxious
No.
right now because I don't want to read it. I don't want to read it, but I do. She started as such like a nothing character too, and now she's like become this amazing character. You know, air quotes nothing character. By that I mean she was just so timid, and like she has that great quote about how Master Fulier never would have accepted the clones. Like never ever would have allowed it to get to this point, or never would have taken part in it. And
because he was a man that stood up for what was right, and that's what got him killed.
That's what got him killed. And she was just like, I like to think, didn't she say like, I'd like to think he'd be proud of me or something? And it's just like, that is 100%. That's
he
like,
refuses to get rid of his lightsaber, even though it would probably be for the best.
Yep. And it just sucks because that's so, to me, that is a character who's at the end of her arc, who is constantly trying to live up to him. And, you know, she's gone off, done her own thing. She's left the Jedi Order. She's started a family. She's done all these things that are so un-Jedi, air quotes, but still at the end of it is thinking of her master and is like, I like to think he'd be proud of me, even though I've done all these other things because this is what's right. And I'm like, even if I didn't know what was happening, I'm like, that's a character who's about to die because you have come full circle. You have completed your growth. And it's like, it's so hard because she's not a Jedi, but because she's so damn fixated on doing the right thing, she's gonna get herself in trouble. Sorry, I'm just going off right now, but it's just like, it's so good. It's so good. And she's such a good character, and it's just,
man, there's a reason I love these books.
They're very good. And I mean, that's no secret. If you've been reading along with us, you're aware how good these books are. But I just feel like, I think overall so far, True Colors has been the best one, I think, for me. But this one is definitely close second, just in terms of, just because the tension is just so so strong, and now we've only got one left. That's, or will, after next week, you know, but
yeah.
Anyway, again, getting ahead of myself. Every minute I waste talking here for no reason is a minute I'm not awake reading Order 66 later.
I'm really half expecting like messages like almost immediately after you start reading.
Because it's, let's see, this is page 405. My copy actually has a short story in the back of it, or an excerpt from the Clone Wars No Prisoners. 467 is the last page for me. So I've got about 62 pages to read. Well, it's a bummer. It's just a bummer. That's all there is to it. Cole, where can people find you on the internet? Next time, obviously, finish the book.
Finish the book. 21 through 27. I am at Mando Wraith, wherever you want to find me. And I'm on Skyhoppers usually. Whenever we can find the time to record and all our schedules align.
I feel like,
Lord willing, we'll be talking about Mandalorian and Bad Batch this week.
Definitely Mandalorian. Bad Batch, the episode title is Metamorphosis. We will also probably be talking about Bad Batch, assuming that you, me, and Dakota can get it watched. I will have it watched 100%. I'm clearing my schedule. But Yeah, this podcast is on Twitter at Obroa-Skai Pod. We're on YouTube as well. You give us a sub over there, be notified when we go live, because we do stream all of these episodes live on our YouTube channel. Cole also tweets that link whenever, every week. Sorry, we have an inconsistent recording schedule, but it is what it is. We're hoping to get back to the primary Sunday, secondary Monday schedule. Wednesdays ideally are no longer part of the equation, but if we do truly need a fallback, they are there. You can also email us at obroaskywalkers@gmail.com. I know some of you out there have thoughts about Order 66. Please share them. Send us an email. I would love to commiserate. But give it a few days. Give it a few days so I have time to finish the book. He says, as though he won't finish the book in about 2 hours. 2 hours. Staying up way too late reading. But yeah, thanks Tom, Mogo, Torch, Nathan, hanging out in our chat. Always a good time. Thanks everyone for listening. But the Jedi Archives have been lit on fire. So you know what that means. Library patrons, please make your final selections. The library closes in 20 minutes. I thought that was funny too, whenever someone mentions that the archives were destroyed or something and Palpatine was pissed about it.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's just such a little thing. I wouldn't have remembered it had I not made that little joke there. If you're still in the stream, thanks for hanging out. Do appreciate it. It makes it a lot more fun to have some people who are like-minded individuals. And Tom, mad respect for pausing Get Played to listen to this podcast. Especially because Get Played is about GoldenEye this week. I've read like the first or listened to like the first probably 45 minutes of it. It's good, as always. It's a good podcast. But thanks for hanging out. I'm taking the stream down. So good night, everybody.
Bye.